Hi guys, today I am going to be installing a brand new water softener at my parents' new place. It's really echoey here because it's a brand new empty house. I'm really excited about this for my parents. But I want to shoot a video and just share with everyone how to install a water softener, just everything you need to know about what exactly water softener is doing, and to just help other people save some money. It's really helpful to know about these things so that you can go take care of it yourself, whether you're actually going to be installing it yourself. Just knowing exactly what it's doing helps you understand the system and all that. Feel free to jump ahead. I'm going to leave chapter links in the description so you can go jump ahead to whatever you need to see, whether it's installation or finding out information about the water softener. So to start off with, just a little story. The reason why I got into all this is because when I first moved to Austin, Texas, my family knew that we needed a water softener. The water is pretty hard and we started getting really itchy and dry, sensitive skin. So we knew we needed one. I ended up going to one of the big box stores and they had a salesperson there that said, oh yeah, you get a water softener, and I like, signed up or whatever. So when that guy came over, I took a lot of notes mentally, like what exactly he was testing and what exactly he was doing. And what ended up happening was he ended up charging $8,000 plus, and this was almost 10 years ago. So that was an extremely large amount of money. I almost actually signed up with it, but then like after I signed everything and then I was just thinking about it, like you have like a 2 or 3 day period to like change your mind or cancel. I was like, this is crazy. I'm gonna be spending almost as much as a used car for a water softener. I should be able to do something, better. So that's how I got into this whole thing. So the things that the water softener does is it actually takes care of hardness. And then you have to also worry about the other things in the water. One of the big things that we have to worry about down here is chlorine. Chlorine is actually a big killer of the water softener, and it also adds towards your irritable skin and whatnot. So when I saw the guy's presentation, I realized that he had a water softener or hardness test kit, which I ended up buying on Amazon for like I think $20 or $50. It's actually not that expensive. And then he tested for chlorine, which I have this kit here. So this chlorine testing kit, this is exactly the same kind of kit you would get to test a pool. It's very easy to buy. And they have a pH tester, but when the salesperson came, I don't think he tested that. But these are the main issues, at least in my area, that you need to be concerned about. I'll show you guys how to do this really quick. You just get some water, fill that up, pour that into here. It's like high school chemistry class all over again. And then you have to add 3 drops of solution 1. So that's the hardness solution 1. So the other reason why it's good to be able to do this is if you're going to be doing your own maintenance on the system, you need to know how hard your water is. So this is the first steps. And then it also helps you decide how big to size your unit and whatnot. So then it says add 3 drops of the hardness solution 2 and swirl to mix. Okay. So we're just mixing that solution in there. And then this is where you determine how hard your water is. So you have to add the hardness solution number 3, 1 drop at a time. And you count the number of drops. So the number of drops you drop in is the amount of hardness in grains per gallon. So you're adding the drops until the water changes color, going from red, like it is right now, to blue. So let's see how hard the water is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm adding 10 to start with because I know the water is around 13 to 16 grains per gallon of hardness. So I'm just starting at a baseline. Okay, so it's not 10, 11, 12, 13. About 13? Yeah, it started changing around 13. So, like my house, the water here is about 13 grains per gallon hard. So that's the hardness test. That's the first thing you want to be determining. The second thing you want to be determining, and I'm not sure if this is going to show up well. I guess I'll try holding this up against here. Hopefully it will. It's really hard to see because it just turns a little bit yellow. But I am going to be testing now for chlorine. So with the chlorine test, you just have to fill this thing up with water, and then you add 5 drops of the chlorine solution, chlorine test solution, and you look to see what shade of yellow it's at. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give this a little shake. It looks like the water here is a little less chlorinated than the water at my house. It's looking pretty clear, but I do see some yellow. I would say it's probably in the 0.3 to 0.5 range. So yeah, there's still some chlorine in my water here. So after you figure out how hard your water is, if you have chlorine in there or not, you can use this information to help pick out the right equipment. There are a lot of things that you have to worry about, but at least in my area, the Central Texas, Austin area, the only things that we have to worry about is the hardness and chlorine. One other good source when looking up this kind of information is usually the quality of their water. You can use that also to see if there's any other impurities or anything else that you want to take care of. So anyway, with all that information, after I did the research, the system that I ended up picking is I picked exactly the system, or equivalent to the system that that company that was quoting me for $8,000. It's a whole house carbon filter with a water softener unit, and then at the sink there's a reverse osmosis unit. So for the company to quote me, they were talking about $8,000 plus. I've been able to find and source this whole system for under $1,500. You're going to have to get the system, and you can actually get it from Amazon or a lot of these other third-party vendors, and then you're going to have to get a few tools and a few adapters to hook these all up. So we'll go into that process right now. I'll tell you exactly what you'll need. So the first thing I recommend doing before even purchasing anything is make sure that you have a water softener loop. This is how you're going to connect the water softener to the house. And if you don't have one of these, you're not going to be able to do any of this. You will have to get a plumber to install this somehow. But anyway, most new houses, at least where I'm at, they have a water softener loop installed in the garage. It looks something like that. It's just an area where the pipes stick out. Usually there's insulation covering it, so you can go just take a utility knife and cut the insulation. Make sure you don't want to cut into the pipe, or else you'll have a leak before you're ready to deal with this. You will have to be cutting this pipe, but don't do it until you're ready for it. So once you take the insulation off, you want to see what size pipe you have. This is important so you could go get the right adapters to the water softener. So I have 1-inch pipe here. So this is what I'm going to be working with, and this tells me what kind of adapters that you have to get. The common measurements, if I remember correctly, I think it's like either 1-inch or 3/4 inch for smaller or older houses. So I'll show you what comes in these whole house water softener kits. You get 2 tanks, at least the ones I got. One of these, and I gotta open it up and figure out which is which. One of these is going to be the water softener, and the other one is going to be the carbon pre-filter. And then there's this salt container. So what happens is the water softener every few weeks gets fully clogged up with all the hard water and all the minerals. And it's actually really simple. It's just literally they take salt water to wash the resin and get rid of all the minerals so that it can go absorb more minerals again. So they have a container of salt, and every few weeks it pumps the salt through the water softener to get rid of that. So it includes those pieces. These are the head units. So this is the brains of the system. This thing is the one that has a timer and controls when it should be cleaning the system. Basically what it does is it does it on two things. It does it either if you haven't cleaned it in like several weeks, so there's a max timer there, and then it also checks how many gallons you have used. So it's whichever comes first. So they would, it goes on a schedule and then goes cleans your unit. There's all these adapters to connect this thing to your water softener loop. And then the other piece that I bought with this kit is the reverse osmosis system, and this is going to be installed in the kitchen. So it comes with some piping and the reverse osmosis kit, and then a storage tank. So for the reverse osmosis system, that actually happens really, really slowly. That process takes a long time. So what they do is they actually have a storage tank to hold a certain amount of water so that you're not there waiting for it to drip, but you have a gallon or 3 gallons of water to access immediately. So we have those pieces. We have the head. This goes on the carbon filter. I'll talk more about all these things when we actually get to that portion. So I'll cover the tools that you need at this point and the extra parts that you need to get. So you'll need something to be able to turn off the water. I like just turning it off at the water main. So I have this tool here. You can get it from Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever. You'll need a power drill to drill a hole in the underneath the sink in the kitchen to return the wastewater from the reverse osmosis system. You'll need a pipe cutter to cut the pipe for adding a drain for the water softener. You'll need some lubricant to add to the water softener. Some of the kits come with this, some of them don't. I just ended up buying my own bottle of this. You'll need a Phillips and a flathead screwdriver. And then you'll need some pipe adapters. So this thing could get pretty complicated. The easiest way I found to do this is to use something called a shark bite adapter. What this does is that you don't need any extra tools. All you need to do is get this shark bite adapter, and it converts to a screw-on. So you'll need to be getting 3 different connectors, 2 for connecting to and from your water softener loop, and then this one for connecting between your carbon filter and the water softener. So the thing when you get this shark bite adapter, you want to make sure that this matches the size of the pipes in your house. So my house here is 1-inch pipes, so I made sure I got a 1-inch shark bite adapter. And then this connector from the carbon filter to the water softener is just always 1 inch. Last thing you'll need is some items to build the drain. So the water softener does have wastewater during the cleaning process. You'll need to make sure that you have a PVC pipe. This is probably going to be 1.5 inches. That's the standard drain pipe. And then some pipe glue, and then some tubing to take the wastewater from the water softener to the drain. I believe this is 5/8 inch tubing or 3/4. I keep forgetting this value. Some other things that might be nice is getting some clamps. It's not 100% necessary. They do have barbs that fit pretty tightly, but if you want some extra security so this doesn't come off, that's another good thing to do. Another thing you're supposed to get is something called an air gap adapter. So this is going to end up going into the drainage. And there is always a concern that if this drain gets filled up and this is in there, that the water could start siphoning back and getting dirty sewer water into your system. So they have it. So they sell something that creates a little bit of an air gap here. I am going to try to DIY something today because I don't have that. But if you want, you could also get an air gap adapter to put this all together. So the first thing you're going to want to do is try to figure out where your water is coming in and then turn off your water. So I have my water main right here, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it because it's a little bit dark in there. Just use this tool. Just makes it really simple. I'm doing this with one hand, so excuse me. And you just twist that until that lines up. If they were to shut off your water, they would put a lock into that little hole, but this is when you know that the water's off. Then all you have to do is run the water and drain the system. So you could just leave that on, making sure all the water is out. There's still gonna be some water in the system, so when we do the cut, we gotta just make sure that we have a towel or something to catch some of the water, but if you turn on water in the house, it should drain most of the water out. Another tip I could provide is actually draining the water on the outside. Sometimes the outer hose bibs are a little lower than the ones inside, and you might get a little bit more water out of it than if you were just to drain it from the inside. All right, we're gonna now assemble the water softener units and the carbon filter. First thing we need to do is take this cap off. There is a tube in the middle. Do not pull this thing out. There's some sort of filter or something like that in there, and if you pull this out, it's going to be extremely hard to get back in because all the material is going to settle into where the tube's supposed to go. So what you're looking for is one tube that has black stuff in it. That's the carbon filter. So this one has the black stuff in it, and then the other one is sort of this clear material. Yeah. So the clear material, I guess is yellowish, looks sort of like this. And then the black material just looks like this. I don't know if you can see it from my finger, but it looks like black dirt. So the first piece that we're gonna put on is, we'll assemble everything for the carbon filter. All you need is this head here. If it hasn't been already lubricated, you add some lubrication to the O-ring right here. And then you just put that on top there and start twisting. Just go around in a circle. So you want it to be sort of tight, but not too tight because you don't want this to break. But probably want to go get it snugged up and maybe do a quarter turn after that. So then with these guys, you could put some lubrication on these O-rings again, and then just put that onto here. Make sure you get food safe lubrication because this will be going into your water supply, or it touches your water supply. You don't want to be putting anything toxic in there. And then you just fit this on here like this, push it in. So at this point, one thing that you should be or could be doing is flushing the carbon filter. The first time you run the carbon filter, it will make everything really, 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 really black and dirty. I'm a little bit lazy to do that. I'm gonna actually just flush it when I connect it. But the other tutorials I've seen is people put a hose into here and then just flush it until if they don't see any more black water, I will just hook it up and flush it with the system. All right, so make sure everything's tight, and then an extra quarter turn. And that finishes the carbon filter. So now we can go work on the water softener. So when you're attaching the water softener head, one really useful thing to do is to make sure you undo the cable tie for the power adapter. This is heavy and this could actually rip off of this thing if it drops while you're doing anything. So I just undo the cable tie, put in something, and then it gives me a lot of room to move this thing around. So with this thing, again, you just add the cup, you line up with the holes, twist, make sure it fully seats. Then make sure you have lube on the O-ring again. And then like the carbon filter, we just put it on top and then start spinning it. You get it there, another quarter turn to get it snug. And then we'll work on the adapters to get this hooked to the house. So there's two pieces, at least with my kit. There's this piece that goes on first, directly on here. This is a bypass, so you actually turn these knobs, and you might need a plier or something to turn these knobs. But you could open and close the water to bypass the system. So add a little bit of lubrication to the O-rings again. And then just slide this on. There's arrow pointing in the right direction, so you just could refer to those. After you get the thing on, just make sure that these fasteners are in place. And then all you need to do is screw this in. And there's one on the opposite side too. Now we just have to add this piece to allow the connectors to be screwed on. So just add some lube to the O-rings again. Then push this thing on. Here's a useful tip. I guess it's I don't know, it's a 1/4 inch maybe, 1/2 inch, or 3/8 inch, I don't know. But it is the same size as this thing. It's easier to just use this instead of the flathead. You get a lot more torque on it. So there's two more things to add to this. We have to connect the hose to the brine tank and then a hose to the drain. Here's the adapter to the drain. You're going to be slipping on this hose. It just goes like that. I think you could put Teflon tape on this. I don't have any at the moment, but it wouldn't be a bad idea. That goes right into here like this. You'll need a wrench. I always forget to mention something in the list of tools. So to connect the water softener to the brine tank, it comes with this contraption. I don't even know what it's called. But you're gonna have to take off the covers from the top and bottom. And then pull out the hose so it looks like this. So it comes with this little brine connection kit. So I'm looking at my kit, and it looks like this piece is already in here, so I'm not gonna have to use this piece. We can see that's right there. So you put on the filter first, then you slip the nut on, and then you slip this compression sleeve. So the smaller side goes towards the unit. The larger side goes towards the nut, okay? So that just goes on like that. And that goes right here. Just push it in. And then you put the nut on, and then you tighten. Get your wrench and tighten it up. Yes, not coming out. So you have your wastewater out, your brine tank connection, and then the inputs and outputs. That's everything you need to do for assembling the water softener. We can move on to taking care of the plumbing and the scary part in actually cutting the water softener loop. So all you're gonna do is take your cutting tool, tighten this up, and then just start going back and forth around it. As you keep going, just tighten it more and more until you go all the way through. I wouldn't tighten it too much at once because you actually want to cut it. You don't want to just crush it. So you gotta tighten as you go around. Just a reminder, make sure your water is off. If not, you're going to have a whole bunch of water spray out. And I still have a whole bunch of water spraying out. Yeah, even if you drain all the water from the different spots on the house, there might still be a lot of water in your pipes. Yikes. That side's done. On this side. I don't have enough room for my tools, so I'm just gonna have to use the utility knife to finish it up. After you finish cutting these, make sure you deburr them. You want a smooth, clean surface for the shark bite to get a good mating surface. Can you see? Just screwing this thing onto, man, there's no space in this area. That took way too long. So I guess a tip for everyone who's doing this, if you have a tight spot, make sure you don't get a big bulky tool like this. I would probably have used some sort of Sawzall blade or something like that. But that's how you get that off. All right, I finally got it off. If you have a Sawzall blade or some electric thing, definitely recommend using that over what I did. Also, if you have a tight spot like this, you probably want one of those smaller tools that just wrap around here instead of something so bulky like what I used. But you need to get this thing off. After that, deburr the inside. So you can have a smooth connection. Then you want to take your plumbing cement. And put this thing on. Let's do some dry fitting first. Go on there. And go on like this. And just verifying that everything fits before you start gluing something together and finding out it doesn't work. So I'm going to put together my hack for getting the wastewater tube connected to this thing. I'm going to say this so that I don't get nasty comments. Well, I'll probably still get nasty comments because I always do. But don't necessarily follow what I do. This may or may not be against code. The thing that you're supposed to do is get one of those adapters that produce an air gap so that in the case of the sewer coming up or whatnot, you're not, there's no chance to backflow dirty water into your system. I think this is good enough to do what I want, but I'm just a homeowner and I'm not a licensed plumber or anything like that, so I just leave it with you guys that you should probably do the right thing and just get an air gap adapter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some holes. I could go tie this thing on. So the one needs to go around here. I'm starting out with 2 pilot holes and then I'm gonna make them bigger. I'm not sure where the camera died, but I finished putting together the adapter. So I got the 2 holes in there, I got the ring in there, and then you see over here, this clamp will hold the tube here and it will keep the tube from going in, and it should provide a pretty good air gap under normal circumstances to prevent any backflow from happening. So I'll just put the tube in here and then I'll tighten this thing up and it should be good to go. So now that we have all our plumbing ready, we can go glue everything together. And you just put a little primer on. And you put some of the cement on. Push into place. I'm gonna have this at a slight angle because there's so little clearance here. And then just let that set. Push that in. And now I'm done. Move this just a little bit so I don't hit these guys. This should be good. So let's get the shark bite adapters on and get this thing all hooked up. So make sure there's a washer still in here. At least in the one I had, it actually fell out during shipping. So just make sure that the washer is on this side. Shark bite should look like this. It should have the ring inside here. Don't take this thing out. This needs to stay in here. So really simple. Just line it up and then push it firmly on. Actually, before you do this, you want to mark how deep this thing should be, in case that you're not pushing it deep enough. Yeah, so get a marker and mark the depth. Make sure that you actually reach that point. I think it's for these ones. I think it's about 1 inch, because you don't want this thing to be slipping off. SharkBite actually does have a tool that tells you exactly how far to go, but I don't have that. Okay, it's actually more than 1 inch. Maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches. So you gotta make sure that you didn't crush the insides, because the white piece won't be able to slip on right. Just making sure that the inside hole is nice and round. Yeah, there we go. I'd say about 1.5 inches to 2 inches is how far these things need to go in. Alright, so to put the adapter on, to go from the carbon filter to the house, you'll need this thing here. You'll need to put this nut on first, then the split ring, and then the washer. The slip ring goes around this groove here, and there's another groove for the O-ring. So you put the nut on first, then you put the slip ring onto the lowest groove, the deepest groove, and then the O-ring goes onto the topmost, so the outermost groove. So when you do that, then when you screw it in, you have a nice tight connection. So I'm going to assemble the brine tank right now. It's pretty simple. It's just held in place like this plunger stopper thing. It works very similar to how a toilet stops flowing water. You just have to put that in here. So there's this piece here, which is going to stick through here. I don't know if you can see it. It's too low. I'll just lift this thing out. It sticks through here. There's 2 holes. The bottom one is where the this excess drain plugs in, and the top one is where you would connect into your water softener. So you just stick this in here, line up the hole. I'm not sure which washers go where, but I'm just gonna use this washer on the outside and this one on the inside. And then you just line this up. See this hole here? The bottom one's for attaching to the excess water drain, and then the top one's for plugging into the water softener. You just hold on to the nut, line it up, you just screw it into place. If you want to, you can attach this to the drain, but this is just really for emergencies. Water should never come out of this thing. The plunger here should stop the water from filling up when it's full. But if you want to be extra cautious, you could actually run this also to the drain. Now's a good time to make sure everything's in place. Okay, so now that I have my units fairly where I want them to be, I gotta test which is my water coming in and which is my water going back to the house. I'm gonna have to quickly turn on the water and see which one spills some water. So I'm gonna go do that, and I'll go look at the footage and see which one is the incoming water supply. Yeah, I'm guessing it came out of this one. Alright, so this is gonna be my intake, and this is gonna go back to the house. So the way that I'm gonna wire this up is for the carbon filter there, it can go either be a upflow system where you are putting the water coming all the way to the bottom and then filling up and then coming out, or a downflow system where you have the water coming in from the top and then coming out from the bottom and then going through the tube in the middle. I prefer to do the upflow. If I remember correctly, I think that's the recommended methodology to keep the carbon filter as clean as possible. Get your wrench and tighten it down. This is really short. Let's do like that. So I'm gonna now have the hose connected to the output of the carbon filter into the input of the water softener. Pay attention to the arrows on the unit. There's an arrow that tells you which direction is which. So on this one, the input is on the right side. Make sure that the washers are firmly seated. I guess if I was to do this again, do this one first, at least the way I have it set up. This one is the incoming connector is very much in the way of the connector from the carbon filter to the softener. Okay, have all that set. I am going to leave all of this on bypass so I could test to make sure that everything's flowing. I'm going to turn back the water on and check for leaks. Any leaks? Things are flowing. Okay, looks pretty good so far. There is no leaks. What I'm going to do is I am going to leave the water softener in bypass, but I'm going to turn on the carbon filter, and we're going to see all the carbon
get cleaned out. So I will turn that on. Turn that on. So now the water is flowing into here, bypassing this still, but it's coming through here. Okay, I don't know if you can see it in there, but that's gray water that you want to flush out. You don't have to do it like this. You could definitely use a garden hose and just flush the carbon filter out by itself. I was just too lazy. Actually, I'm not just too lazy. I don't have a garden hose. This is a brand new house. I don't have any tools with me here. I'm not going to bore you with running water, but this is going to go on for about 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to go move on to more steps. You just leave this running until you don't see any more black gray water. The carbon actually is pretty sticky. It comes off easily if you rub it, but like this isn't just coming off with water. So I'm going to have to rub this a little bit. So yeah, if you don't want carbon all over the place, probably the best deal is to rinse it with a garden hose first before going on to these next steps. Okay, so we have 2 more steps. We gotta put the wastewater hose on. This is the hose that we have for that. This tube. I think I might cut it. This one's very long. Probably cut it in about half. So I just cut the tube with a utility knife. And we can run that now here. This goes here. So just push this snugly on. And then if you got yourself a hose clamp, you can just clamp that on there. And that's nice and stuck. This hose not going anywhere. Other side, just make sure that's in there. And then we're going to snug it down. Careful to not make it too tight. You don't want to crush the tube and restrict flow. Just tight enough so it doesn't move anywhere. This looks good. All right, and the last part of the assembly is connecting the brine tank. This is really easy. You might have different types. Some of them have a push connector, some of them have a screw connector. This one is a screw connector. So I'm just going to slip this tube to the back, to the hole, into the assembly that we put together, that plunger assembly. This into place. And then screw this back on. Make sure that it's fully seated. And then tighten it back up. And that should be everything in terms of the whole house water softener assembly. We still have to program the unit, but pretty much done with the assembly portion. That goes there. I need to go get salt and fill this with salt, but we're gonna go test everything first. All right, now that we got the carbon filter all flushed and cleared out, let's go turn on the water softener. Let's get that connected. So right now it's in bypass mode. That means that the 2 knobs are facing this way. You want them to be facing this way, facing parallel with each other, not pointing to each other. So that turns on the water to go into there. Be careful to pay attention to the arrows. They tell you which way you're supposed to turn this thing. checking for more leaks. Everything looks solid. I think we're ready to flush this one too. So here's flushing more air out of the system. Here's all the air that was in the water softener. You can avoid all this, all these air pockets if you fill up the water softener and the carbon filter with a garden hose beforehand. Oh yeah, look at that. That's the water softener getting flushed. This is normal. Alright, so I just turned these things on and it looks solid. I don't see any water leaking from anywhere, so this is great. Alright, so the last thing you gotta do with this thing is program the unit and then test to make sure that the regeneration cycles will work and you won't have any leaks in that side of things. So all you have to do is plug it in. And then you want to set the time to 12:01. And that'll get you into a special mode to be able to program this thing. I will put this in the description, all the items to program. I don't remember where I got this from, but I got a manual that gave some recommendations on the best settings for this thing. And then you press the up and down button until you get into special mode. Okay, so you want to get into this thing that starts saying DF gal. You get into this mode by pressing the up and down button at the same time. So the settings you want to have is gallons, because we're in the US. I think that's gallons or liters. Press this to go to the next one. You want to be DF1B. You want CT, FD, and you want NT to be 1. So these look all good so far. But this one you want to update. So you want to update this to the grains per, the size of your water softener. I believe this one is a 48,000 grain water softener. And from my chart, it says that the optimal setting for that is 30. So we're going to set that to 30. By the way, I don't know if this is the best. This is just what I found online. Feel free to do your own research on what you think is the best settings for this thing. Okay, the next settings is hardness, I think. We just tested the hardness, and this is actually why it was important to test so you know how hard your water is. The hardness of the water here was 13. I'm going to just set it as 15. Just as a little bit of a buffer. It doesn't hurt, it just makes it so that you will end up regenerating more times, but this will just help to keep the water soft. The next thing is RS, which they say to set to SF. They say to set this to 5. I don't remember what all these things are. It's in the manual. I'll link all this if you want to go check. DO is next, which is, I think, days before it does a recharge, regardless of whether it needs one or not. Say do 7. When this thing regenerates, and this is regeneration time, which is 2 a.m., which is good. We don't want it to regenerate while we're using it, because when it regenerates, it actually goes into bypass mode. The water isn't soft during the regeneration cycle. Then BW is 10. These are the how many minutes it will do on the different cycles. So like it does a brine wash or brine refill or something like that. Brine, I forget what they stand for, but it's the different cycles where they're pouring water into the brine tank, pulling water from the brine tank, and this is rapid rinse. So they say 10 for BW, 60 for BD, and 10 for RR for rapid rinse. The next setting is brine fill. That should match the capacity. So if we set it to 30 times 100,000, they say to set it to 6. So I'm gonna set this to 6. Okay, type of meter. Lastly, the type of meter should be selected. I'm not gonna touch this value because I am almost certain that they've probably set this right in the factory. They should have, because this is all built together. So I'm gonna skip that. That defines what type of head is connected. So I think that should be everything. We can now set the time. So we'll set the time. Right now it's 5 p.m. 5:36. And we're done setting up the system. I am going to now test this. Let me go turn off the water inside and then we'll test this. Okay, to force the cycle, you just hold the regeneration button and it will start a cycle. So this is doing a regeneration cycle. There is nothing for it to do a brine wash with, so we might have to jump to the next one so they actually fill the brine tank first. You can see the water flowing. So we're also, the reason why we're running this whole thing is we want to check for leaks. I think we need to skip this one too. So the good thing is that there's no leaks coming from the drain. That's what we're checking for. Let's get to the refilling the brine tank and make sure that there's no leaks going through the brine tank. So I'm just going through the cycles right now. I think it was something like brine fill or some sort of rinsing, some sort of pulling water from the brine tank. Right now it's doing rapid rinse, which is clearing off all the salt from the water softener so that it can go be put back into service, but we want to skip this one too. I gotta wait till the timer starts. Can't skip anything while it's in this state. So you see how forceful the water here is? This is exactly why I clamped that thing down. If you don't secure this thing, this could actually fly away and end up getting water all over your garage. Okay, this is the one we want to go on. Brine fill. Okay, water is going into the brine tank right now. I don't know if you can see that, but there is water going in there, and it doesn't look like there's any leaks. Okay, so I'll let it do its thing here, and then that should fill up the brine tank, and I think everything should be ready for this thing to be used. So with this completes all the assembly. We put everything together. I would definitely recommend double checking on this, especially the first week. The first time I put this together, I didn't screw the heads on right on this thing, and then a few, like I think it wasn't even instantly, it was like a few hours or a few days later, there was a leak from here. So just double check, especially if this is your first time doing it. Come back to the unit, check in it also when it does its first regeneration. Just make sure that you don't end up with a very wet situation, especially the first times. After probably the first 1 or 2 times and you find no leak, this unit is very fine to just leave here and for it to do its thing by itself. But yeah, check on it the first few times. Right now we can go back inside and check if the water's soft now. All right, let's retest the hardness of the water. Three drops of solution 1. 3 drops of solution 2. So, it's a little bit hard still. 1 drop. Yeah. So we went from basically 13, 14 grains per gallon to anywhere from 0 to 1, because I only had to add 1 drop to turn this blue. So that's great. That means our water softener is working. So the great thing about it, when you know how to do all this yourself, is you're able to go fix your own water softener, and then on top of that, when your water softener stops working, you're able to actually test and see, oh, my water softener is is doing hard water or not. Because oftentimes when you get used to it too much, you start it's hard to tell whether your water is hard or not. So being able to have your own test kit and your own setup is just amazing. It just saves you so much time and money from having to call the water softener company to fix anything or help you or whatnot. All right, there you have it. Our water softener is working. It's reducing the hardness of the water down to about 0 to 1 grains per gallon. And this is great. The great thing also about being able to test and do this all yourself is that you will be able to know when your water is hard or not, and when you need to know whether you have to service it or call someone. Just being knowledgeable about these things. It's really, really simple, and it just helps you be able to take care of everything yourself, so you don't get scammed or ripped off or just be uninformed. All right, guys, so that's how you install a water softener. Hope you didn't find that too difficult. I really encourage everybody who has their own house to try doing it yourself. It's not really that complicated, and you can save a whole bunch of money. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I'm very happy to help answer those kind of things. I will probably still have a second part to this. I didn't install the reverse osmosis filter yet. I actually need to go get a part because I didn't like all the parts in the kit. I'll explain that more in the other video, but you can go take a look at that once I have that up. If you can, please help this channel by hitting the like and subscribe. That'd be awesome. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Hope that you found this video helpful. Bye, guys.